All right, so this is a video that was requested to kind of go over the differences between an ILI and an LIE. Two types that, of course, are very similar. They're both gamma types. They're both NTs. They're both NTJs. Um, at least in generally thought of as NTJs. So they're playing with the same exact functions. They're just prioritizing them a little bit differently. This will affect how they appear in general. Okay. So if you're looking at, can we do this? Hey, all right. All right. So if we're looking at the breakdown, there you go. Okay. ILI on the left, LIE on the right. Okay. It's probably pretty familiar for many people. Pretty much the same person almost. All right. At least on paper. That's what it looks like, but not quite. Why? What's the deal here? Well, the ILI, actually, let's bring up a few things that they have together. We already said that they're gamma types, they're NTJ types. Okay. What makes them very similar is that they're both extremely individualistic types. They're extremely pragmatic in their approach to things, or at least that's how they're going to come across to many people. There's going to be this high use of practical knowledge, what works, what's known to work. This is the information that's shown to work. This is how you get things done in reality. Okay. These people are very eager to achieve things, measurable things, real world things that they're getting done. Okay. The motivations can be just a desire to get things done, achieve, show that you've achieved, do things for people, let them realize, hey, I can achieve. The motivation can be, I just want to achieve for my own reasons. Or it could even go into, I'm achieving things because I want to get certain things, certain goals done. I want to make certain accomplishments. I want to have a certain amount of money, certain amount of freedom, whatever, right? Any of those things are going to apply very well to the NTJs, the gamma types in particular. Okay. So they're both really going to share that. What is going to be a bit of a separation here? The main sticking point, I think that it just jumps right out at you right away. ILIs are known as one of the most introverted types out there, hands down. They're one of the most, by far and away, separated from everybody. Um, to the point where they may even come across as being a bit schizoid, meaning that they just don't feel any desire to really interact much with people. They're perfectly fine spending long periods of time on their own, have very few people that they interact with or want to interact with, maybe have some close friends, okay, some people they do like, but they don't feel any real need to get out there and really socialize, especially meet a lot of people, express a lot of emotion. This is a type that really is not expressive. This is one of those types that having a flat affect is brought up a lot. Now, I'm sure there's some people out there who are ILI who are hearing that and they'll say, well, I don't mind meeting people that I like. I can kind of do. It's like, yeah, but remember, relatively speaking, compared to other types. So if we put an ILI next to an ESE, let's say from Alpha or something like that, those types are always out and about talking to people, socializing. They're very open to talking to anybody, meeting anyone, very welcoming. They're doing this every day. They're doing this all the time. It's very consistent. ILIs don't. ILIs really like to keep their distance a lot. ILIs will often enforce having their own separate space, their own things that they do. This is my environment, my things. Some ILIs will talk about not, if they can get through their day and get all their tasks accomplished without having to talk to anybody directly, they'll do that. And they'll be quite happy to do that. Yeah, very much this desire to kind of do their own thing, totally away from everybody else. They are by far one of the most introverted. Um, Now, why is this high level of introversion It's because of the FE in the vulnerable position, okay, which is right here. They're FE polar, FE vulnerable. They don't care a lot of times about expressing themselves, emoting, socializing with people. They're just like, why, whatever. They can be extremely dry, sometimes very dry. One of the things that really separates the ILI from many of the other types, including the LII, the LII wants to kind of talk to people. They want to socialize and be part of groups and stuff, but they're kind of bad at it. They know they're bad at it, and they're sort of afraid of dealing with people. It's more of an anxiety or a social withdrawal from people, a concern that they're not being likable and things like that. The ILI is not concerned about being likable. The ILI is almost like, I don't give a damn if you like me. I whatever. I'm gonna go do my thing that works for me, that achieves the goals that I've decided matter. And if nobody likes me or nobody wants to talk, I really don't care. Like, they really don't lose a moment of sleep usually about that. Again, the lack of FE can sometimes be translated as just lack of expressiveness, like literally just bubbly, happy, showing emotion. Hey, what's up, guys? You could sometimes simplify it to that. And in general, that kind of works. ILIs is one of those types that just doesn't, they just don't really care. They don't really show you that at all. The Yeah, so this is one of the most noticeable things with ILIs, that very lone wolf like approach to things. They can be very good at in certain careers where they're just sort of allowed to focus on their thinking, their practical understanding of how things work, getting things done, um, and understanding how systems work and what's going to work. So these guys, we see them a lot doing well in sciences, in banking, finances, economics, being working on trade, stock, uh, things like that, especially an environment that allows you to kind of work on your own or have a lot of freedom of movement on your own, not have to deal with people, and explain to people, look, these are the facts. This is what we know. This is what we predict is going to happen based on the information and so on that we have. You either accept it or you don't. You take it or you don't. You don't like it, whatever. It don't really matter. All right. It's usually one of the most glaring signs of ILI. ILI, yes, they have NI, so they are usually looking ahead at what they want to do, where they want to go with their life, what they think is going to be the most important thing for them, significant, not in a not in some kind of a spiritual sense or some kind of profound sense. They just kind of say, look, I know who I am and where I'm going. I know what works for me and what I want to do. That's the direction I want to go. That's what's going to work for me. That's what looks like it's clearly going to work out well for me, and I'm going to achieve my goals. Now just get out of my way and let me do it. Very pragmatic people that can be very focused on that goal, on whatever that is they want to go do, whatever that career path or lifestyle they want to go after, and they just pursue it and make it happen. Their FI is not bad. Their FI is in the mobilized position, so they tend to know them. They are better, I should say, at knowing themselves, knowing what they're kind of about. They sort of figure this out fairly quickly, and they are pretty comfortable with knowing who they like, who they get along with. They start to figure that out pretty quick. They keep those people they like close to them, fairly close. And keep the people they don't like away from them, pretty much. So they tend to have a nice tight little circle of friends that they deal with. They tend to have a nice little tight circle of friends that they deal with. Not very often. They're not the sort of people that like to go hang out with their friends every day or see them, oh, I need to see my friends as much as possible throughout the week. No, no. They have no problem seeing their friends once a week, you know, uh, maybe a couple times in the week, a couple times every 2 weeks, very spaced out. Again, it's a very introverted type that is comfortable that way. They don't view it as spending a lot of time away. They view it more as like, this is fine. This is comfortable for me. I see my friends, certain days we talk about certain things. That's it. Um, Maybe feel satisfied talking to their friends online through a Discord server or something like that. They don't need to be face to face sharing the moment, doing stuff like that. Not at all. Um, SE is of course a major problem for them. This is one of their huge things that they kind of tend to realize, that they can often spend a lot of their time at home, sitting on the couch, doing things through the computer, um, just very low energy kind of approach. They don't do well at really getting up, asserting themselves with people, um, physically get up, get out, physically go do it, make it happen, and so on. They're usually not good at those things either, and they know that, they understand that. They realize that they're kind of a very, might almost come across as a lazy type, because they just don't seem to be really getting up and doing stuff. And sometimes they're so good with the NITE and all that, that they've organized and optimized their life so that they can just get to the computer, work for a couple hours where they do some day trading or they do something like that. And that's work. They're doing their job in a nice environment that they like it. They do it, they're done, and they're done for the day. They never even left the house. And they're still sitting around kind of in the house, and they just kind of go back to doing what they do. Um, you can see how something like that is not very physical. It doesn't require you to get out, deal with people, engage with the world very much. It allows you to very indirectly deal with the world, right? Through a computer screen or something like that. Uh, and there's no need to talk to anybody, conflict with anybody, fight with anybody. They're able to avoid all that stuff. And that's something that they tend to do. They tend to optimize their life that way a lot. But they realize that they really have a lot of trouble when they do finally go out into the world and deal with people. They lack the extroversion, the fire, the drive, the assertiveness sometimes too, to stand up for themselves, talk to people, talk over loud conversations, assert themselves in conversation, not be talked over, assert themselves in relationships. Um, they may find that other people tend to assert themselves a lot onto them. They don't have the ability to really push back very well, maintain boundaries very well. Um, those are all problems. Okay. That's kind of why they're supposed to be a nice dual for an ESE that does have strong SE. Um, yeah. So that's pretty much the ILIs. Again, very, as you see, because they have good NITE, it's what they're focused on, but they have good usage of NE and TI too. They understand the possibilities. They understand how to make structures and routines, how to make consistent logical order to things. They do that very well too. But ultimately, they care about TE. How is it working? How does it work? Can we make it work better? That's all they really care about the most. Okay. Um, Again, very, very dry type generally. Um, SI's role function for them. So you see the FE is bad. SI is a role function. Taking care of themselves, sometimes not something they do well. Taking care of their physical space and surroundings, taking care of their body stuff. They don't necessarily do that well, but they can get better at it. It's a role function. They can realize, hey, you know what, every once in a while I need to go out. I need to do a sport or an activity or something like that. I need to exercise a little bit for my body. Um, Maybe I need to implement some habits, um, some food, eating habits, and things like that that I like. that work well for me that I can kind of stick to. Other things that can sort of continue to function and live well. Uh, so I'll do that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's a lot of the ILI stuff. Other types that ILIs are going to look like, okay, on a very superficial level, they're going to be look alike, they're going to seem like them a lot, is the the LII, which would normally think of as INTPs in MBTI circles. Um, those are the alpha quadrant NTs, introverted alpha quadrant NTs. Okay, they're also again going to be rather introverted and shy and kind of quiet and kind of have that NT nerdiness to them as well. Okay, they look a bit like that. These guys can sometimes a little bit also look a little like an SLI that also share many of the same functions. Okay, especially in the middle. The difference is really kind of being SLI, of course, is a delta quadrant type, so delta values, and being very sensory oriented, much more practical at just getting things done and being more calm and comfortable with themselves, much more in tune with their bodies, and doing physical things very comfortably and relaxed, whereas your ILIs usually are not. Um, I can think of a few some famous ILIs that sometimes they look like they show up to an interview or something and they look like they don't even want to be there. Like they like they show up and it's just kind of like, okay, I'm here. Are we done? I'm just giving you what I do and I'm glad you like my book and I'm glad, great. Pay for my book. Thanks. Oh, we're cutting it short. Can I go now? Like they have that kind of attitude sometimes. It's funny. It's like, wow, so antisocial. So, okay, the LIE by comparison. LIE, just off the rip, all right, LIEs are much more extroverted. Okay, it can almost be just that simple. An LIE can be confused for an ILE, okay, an ENTP. That, in my opinion, tells you something right there. ENTPs can be pretty sociable, pretty talkative, very warm and welcoming to a lot of people at times. They can be just a lot more extrovert in a conventional sense. So if an LIE can look like an ILE, that tells you something about the LIE, that they can be much more sociable, a little bit more charismatic, a little bit just more engaging with people. Period. That right there is a huge contrast between the LIE and the ILI. With the LIE, you have the TE dominant. So it's really about let's just get things done. Let's keep going. Let's do stuff. Let's make it happen. But they also have the SE in a mobilized position. So the LIE is can be a much more forceful individual. One of those people that can be seen as a classic extrovert. An even more ambitious and active individual that's really getting out there doing things. Really getting involved a bit more with people, maybe seeking out leadership positions, management positions, positions of authority, perhaps, and control, uh, trying to be a business owner more, in the sense that, like, an LIE may desire to get involved in large bureaucracies or organizations and things like that and try to climb to the top of the hierarchy, try to cement themselves within the hierarchy, fight a little bit for control and dominance or some kind of title and position, whatever, right? The ILI is far more likely to choose a path where they don't have to fight for dominance and control. They don't want to deal with ambition and hierarchy at all. So they're either A, going to go into something that's a pure specialty where they can just be really good at a particular thing and hierarchy, rank, control just doesn't matter. People are going to come to you regardless because you're the specialist in that area. right? It might also be an area where you can be part of a very small group. You don't have to interact with people. People have to come to you when they need you, and that's it. ILIs are going to like that more. LIs are going to be wanting to be mixing it up with people more involved in the decision making, more involved with the organization, and having more of an influence on policy, and um, just probably be more of a decision maker, more involved in that stuff. Um, what else do we want to say on this thing? LIEs can be more, because the SE mobilizing, they can be more physically assertive and physically aggressive. Again, desiring to climb the ladder, do whatever it takes, be more forceful, push some people around a little bit, assert themselves a bit more, maybe try to hang and compete with other high SE users. LIEs will try to do that a lot more. We'll feel more comfortable trying to do that too. By comparison, LIEs, strangely enough, even though they're a more extroverted type, they very paradoxically can be much more social and interested in people and willing to deal with people and do the socializing thing, come across much more extroverted in that way and be interested in all that stuff. But the paradox is that the LIE can struggle with the FI, struggle at times to figure out who they like in an emotional sense. Why do I like this person? Why does this person make me feel good? Or why do I not like this person? Why do they not make me feel good? Who do I want to keep around me and who do I not want to keep around me? Who's the right life partner for me and who's not the right life partner for me? The LIE can have more problems with that, ironically, even though they're far more, they come across or can come across as far more extroverted, energetic, and social than the ILI. It's kind of the interesting, like, strange difference that goes on in there. The LIEs can be it's described as of course, their SI is bad. So some LIEs will actively complain about having to take care of the house, clean up things, deal with the day-to-day little details of living, having to go to the grocery store and getting specific things. Some will complain about sleeping, like they don't want to go to sleep. They wish they don't have to sleep, that they can only just be a robot that never sleeps. Others will complain about freaking dogs, huh? Good Lord. Others will complain about like worrying about eating or have difficulty like taking care of themselves when it comes to making sure they're eating right or following some kind of an eating regimen. You're more likely to see LIEs just not care about those kinds of conversations that have anything to do with those things, or the little mundane things. Really struggle probably more with people talking about the day-to-day stuff too, like, oh, this is what I did today. I had to go to the store and get this thing. I had to buy that, and the discounted price for this is whatever. But hopefully I'm gonna get some food and I'm gonna cut them up and have some spices, some vegetables and stuff on my food. I mentioned there's a lot of LIEs who probably just don't understand the point of that. Like they just see that whole conversation is so incredibly irrelevant. Like they're not even interested for themselves to do things like that. They just don't care. Yeah. The LIE will also demonstrate a better. I noticed that they'll probably demonstrate a better use of NE as well. See, the ILI ignores NE. They can do it, they just don't care. The LIE demonstrates NE stuff. So this will manifest in the LIE kind of showing that they're curious about a lot of topics. They're interested in engaging with a lot of things. They're doing things all the time. They're learning about different things, even things that maybe have no clear cut direct interest. You know, there's no direct purpose to it. It's a topic that it just doesn't matter. It could be about something totally different that's not even in line with the LIE's personal views or goals or whatever. But the LIE will be interested in those kinds of things, or at least know about it. I should say they'll know about it. This is why, again, LIEs can look very extroverted. They can appear like an ILE. LIEs can even give off flashes of looking a bit like an SEE, believe it or not. I know some people think that's crazy. I think that an LIE that's been in a lot of social environments and does a lot of FE stuff, like in my case, doing a lot of theater things and stuff like that, they can develop more FE. They can develop being more expressive. They can develop being more present, dealing with people face to face and stuff like that. They do things like that all the time. So anyway, the LIE just becomes much more extroverted. It's very possible. Darn dogs. So anyway, yeah, very differences. Again, summary of all this. The ILI, again, is known as one of the most introverted types. Lord. ILI is known as one of the most introverted types. Okay, very introverted, and they really show themselves by their very low regard for caring about mingling with people. They just don't care. They're a group that really finds those people that they do care about and like, and they know that they like them. They know they have a good reason why, but that's it. They do not emote much. They don't want to. They don't care. They don't feel like entertaining anybody. No interest at all. Very, very introverted in the most classic sense. I would say ILIs possibly might be the most introverted of all 16 types. And LIEs are rather extroverted. They can be somewhere in that mix of extroverted types. Okay, not in the same way, of course, as some ESE would be, or some EIE or something like that, some FE lead or whatever. They're not that extroverted. LIEs do keep to themselves as well, can do that, and are very much the gamma style, independent lone wolf, doing my own thing kind of mindset, but they're still much more extroverted. That TESE makes them interested in wanting to get out there into the world, wanting to get involved, wanting to possibly climb some kind of corporate ladder or some kind of hierarchy and getting those ideas out there, being a bit more forceful at pushing their concepts and their things and their views on stuff out there into the world. They're a bit much more of that leadership style, a leadership type. I mean, just that's the most obvious thing you're going to kind of notice. You know, and because I know a few people who are very much ILIs or LI, whatever, they're going to watch this. I think this NI versus TE as the dominant lead position also is going to make quite a difference, because the NI is with the ILI is more likely to mean that they're a type that at some point, it might not happen right away when they're young. Maybe it hits them when they're 20. They kind of get a sense of like, look, this is what I'm about, and the direction I want to go with my life, because these are the things I see as being fruitful. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to kind of pretty much stick to that. And that's sort of my goal, this kind of singular approach to my life that I want to do. And that's it. That's what I'm after. The LIE, by comparison, is much more flexible in that way. They don't quite have that singular vision of like, this is what I want to do. This is the area that I belong in. This is the field I belong in, or whatever. The LIE can be a little bit more explorational. Okay, they're showing you some of that NE. They're willing to kind of look around, check out life, look around at things, explore different ideas, what other fields are going on. Maybe I can go here, maybe I can go there. What other ventures could I possibly get into? So there's less of that singular focus on what the LIE's life is going to be about. And a little bit just more explore, more looking around, more whatever. But whatever the LIE finally ends up doing, which there are many LIEs that end up bouncing around a lot in terms of like their jobs or their careers, hobbies, things like that. They may do a lot of them. There are some that they get bored in a particular career job and feel like, okay, this job is kind of stalling out. I don't see myself getting anywhere, or I'm just kind of a little bored of what's going on around here. So you know what? I'm just going to leave and I'm going to go jump to a whole nother industry, something way different, and tackle that and see how I do with that. And so you may see some LIEs really bouncing around a lot, accumulating a lot of skills and titles and things from various fields, which shows the less interest in the NI in that singular kind of approach, and more of the NE like exploration going on. There's LIEs that do that. I'm one of those. I'm definitely one of those LIEs that like bounce around, and dabbles in a lot of different things rather than stays on one specific thing. So yeah, and again, that's another reason why the LIE can look like an ILE or some other like explorational type, right? Whereas the ILIs, that's not common. ILIs, if they move from one job to another, it's because they saw that there was a clear benefit in this job. Look, this job was going to pay me more, or it's going to give me a better lifestyle than what the previous job I had, so I'm going to make that jump to there. Or it could be as simple as, you know what, I just didn't like the other job because it would stress me out and annoyed me. Whereas this one right here offered me a less stressful environment, and that's the obvious reason. So I'm going to do that. ILIs don't bounce around that much. Okay. And when they do, it's because of a specific reason like that, usually. LIEs may bounce just out of sheer boredom or just out of a desire to conquer something else. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, LIEs can be pretty playful, they can have a certain charm to them, extroverted social charm, playfulness, a certain romanticism that's noticeable that people can pick up on. ILIs, not usually. So whatever, I think that's probably more than enough. I think for a few people that like to watch channel, very sporty. LIEs can be sporty. You might find them more often again in competitive sports environments, either as players or coaches, whatever. You could say that's the TE and the SE again. ILIs, not so much. ILIs, maybe they might play sports and things more out of a desire for leisure, for a little fun, just a little recreational kind of thing, rather than anything serious. Again, this is the very low sensing in the ILIs. Usually, are there exceptions to that? Can you find an ILI somewhere who's really good at a sport? Yeah, I bet you can. I'm sure if you look high and low, absolutely, you're gonna find some. Okay, there's always going to be exceptions. But in general, the LI is probably going to be more, or you can probably more likely be found in competitive sports. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there. I think I rambled quite a bit. As always, like and subscribe. Send me any questions or anything else that I touched on or didn't touch on, or mumbled or whatever. Maybe there was something specifically in the stack here that you wanted me to go over more. Whatever. Yeah, let me know.